One of the most well-known and tragic shipwrecks in history, the RMS Titanic has allowed us to recover a lot of valuables that were buried inside her bowls. Not all shipwrecks have left behind as much evidence. Today, we will be talking about 10 rumored shipwrecks that have not yet been located. Let's go into the video. 10. The Merchant Royal. The British merchant ship called the Merchant Royal was employed for West Indian trade. The ship set sail on her final voyage just over 10 years after it was launched in 1627. After a prosperous trading session, the Merchant Royal was sailing back to London in 1641 when it began to leak. Unfortunately, the leak was sufficient to sink the boat off the coast of Cornwall because of the ship's general bad state. The ship's last known location is known, but nobody has been able to locate it. In a search in 2019, the likely anchor was found, but the remainder of the ship is still missing till today. 9. The MS München. The Hapag-Lloyd Company's MS München was a German lighter-at-sea ship, or Lash ship. Built in 1972, it frequently cruised between Georgia, USA, and Bremerhaven, Germany. The ship set off on its 62nd journey on December 7, 1978, along her routine course with 28 crew members and a load of steel. The trip didn't proceed as normal. On December 12, maybe in the early morning hours, the ship issued an emergency signal due to heavy weather. A search party was organized later that day when the signals persisted until around 7 a.m. The search group failed to locate the ship despite receiving frequent mayday signals throughout the duration of the next few days. The search group was put on hold after 8 days of searching by 13 airplanes and 80 merchant ships. 2 months after the catastrophe, one of the lifeboats from the MS München appeared, despite the fact that the wreck was never discovered and its cause was never identified. The boat was empty, though, and nobody is aware of the whereabouts of the crew's final resting place or the ship itself to this day. 8. The Santa Maria. One of Christopher Columbus' renowned ships is the Santa Maria, which he sailed in 1492 on his first trip to America. He took 3 ships on his voyage. The Santa Maria was one of them. Sadly, this ship would never reach America, unlike its 2 sisters. On Christmas Eve in 1492, a cabin lad took control of the ship while the more experienced crew members slept. The cabin boy sailed the boat into a coral reef off the coast of Haiti because he was unable to properly sail a ship. The crew succeeded in getting off the ship with their goods, but the ship sank and was lost forever. The ship is believed to be sufficiently covered by layers now and might never be discovered. 7. Le Griffin. In contrast to many other shipwrecks, the French ship Le Griffin operated in the United States Great Lakes rather than the ocean. The earliest sailing ship to sail on the Great Lakes, this ship started operations in the 1670s. Despite having sailed successfully for several years, the ship set sail on her final voyage in September 1679 as she made her way to Mackinac Island across Lake Michigan. She was transporting a shipment of furs at the time for trading. However, something happened along the route, and the ship vanished. We still don't know the ship's current location or what happened to her and her cargo. Despite the fact that treasure hunters have attempted to find the wreck, as of 2023, their efforts have been in vain. 6. The Cinco Chagas. The Cinco Chagas was a nau, or a Portuguese sailing ship, built in Goa. In 1593, this exact ship set off from Goa on her maiden voyage. But a year later, during the Anglo-Spanish War, she was caught up in the action of Fayal, a fight that took place close to the island of Fayal. The Cinco Chagas sank to the bottom of the ocean with her cargo, which is estimated to have been worth $20 billion. It is believed that the ship's wreck is located somewhere between Pico Island and Fayal, despite the fact that the ship's loot has never been discovered. The ship and all of its valuables are still undiscovered. 5. the Flor de la Mar. Around 1502 in Portugal, the Flor de la Mar was constructed and utilized for both trade and battle. Up to its fateful trip to Malacca in 1511, the ship liked a rather good career. The problem was that the ship was 9 years old at this point, had begun to leak, and required frequent maintenance. Nevertheless, the ship arrived at Malacca without trouble, where it is said to have picked up a cargo hold containing valuables such as gold, diamonds, and other precious stones. The ship was rated dangerous before it departed port. That, however, didn't deter the crew. The ship sailed back toward Portugal with a mission to deliver their treasures to Lisbon. Tragically, the ship and its treasures perished when a storm erupted while it was passing through the Strait of Malacca. Naturally, since the ship was carrying so much wealth, searches were made to locate it. Despite this, the ship was never discovered, and even today, enthusiastic treasure hunters have not been successful in recovering the missing ship. 4. Bonhomme Richard. The Bonhomme Richard was a frigate that was constructed in 1766 by a French company for the Continental Navy and used to combat the British during the American Revolution. It was named after Benjamin Franklin, whose writings under the title Les Maximes de Bonhomme Richard were published in Paris. The Bonhomme Richard generally had a fruitful career, capturing a total of 16 British ships. The ship's success, nevertheless, was short. The ship was damaged by enemy fire on September 23, 1766, and it started to burn. The ship finally capsized after trying to save the boat for 36 hours. Although the ship itself has never been located, the National Museum of the U.S. Navy possesses a model of the ship. So if you're curious about what this vessel would have looked like, you can just take a trip to Washington, D.C., to check it out. 3. The USS Cyclops. The USS Cyclops was a collier that supported American military activities in the Caribbean, the Atlantic coast, and European waterways. It was constructed in Philadelphia in 1910, and it ran efficiently until the beginning of March 1918. At that time, the ship traveled to Brazil. The ship and its whole crew disappeared without a trace as they were returning to the United States from the South American country. The U.S. Navy believed that a German submarine had sunk the ship because it happened during World War I. The ship was the subject of numerous search operations, but it was never located. Although there are various ideas, we still don't know why the ship sank or where it is now. Besides being sunk by a German submarine, some believe the captain got drunk and ran the ship aground. Other theorists believe the ship was overloaded and sank due to its weight. Whatever the case, we likely won't know until we find the wreck. 2. The General Grant. The General Grant was built in Maine in 1864. The General Grant was a 3-mast sailing ship. It bears the name of Ulysses S. Grant, a general in the Union Army. The General Grant embarked on a risky voyage from Melbourne to London on May 14, 1866. Off the coast of New Zealand, when it passed the Auckland Islands, it crashed into some cliffs and went down. There were 83 people on the ship at the time, but only 15 of them made it to land. The 15 castaways had to contend with chilly subarctic winds and make do with what little they had to light a fire and stay alive. 4 of the castaways took a tiny boat to try and escape from the islands after being marooned there for 9 months. They were never seen again. The remaining castaways, apart from one who died of sickness, were rescued by a whaling ship in November 1867, meaning they had survived 18 months on the islands. Interestingly enough, although the castaways were found, the shipwreck never was, and it remains lost to this day. 1. The SS Marine Sulphur Queen. A T-2 tanker designed to transport oil was built in Pennsylvania in 1944 and named the SS Marine Sulphur Queen. However, the ship was transformed into a sulfur-carrying vessel in 1960. Sadly, it now appears that this wasn't the wisest move. 3 years after beginning her career as a sulfur carrier, on February 2, 1963, she embarked on her last trip. The ship suddenly vanished, which is why it's so odd that it didn't send out any distress signals. The ship disappeared from all communication radars after providing a location report on February 4 while it was somewhere off the southern coast of Florida. The ship took 39 crew members' life with it when it vanished. Although there was one report of the ship's wreckage turning up in a desert in Libya, this hasn't been verified, and the location of the shipwreck remains a mystery today. Thanks for watching, see you in the next video.